Welcome to the Adventures in CRE audio series. Join Michael Belasco and Spencer Burton as they pull back the curtain on everything commercial real estate and introduce you to some of the top minds in the industry. If you want to take your skills to the next level and be part of a growing community of CRE professionals across the world, this is for you.
Hello and welcome back to another Adventures in CRE podcast. We're excited because this one kind of goes back to Spencer and Michael's roots back in the day, back when they were at school and they were doing a lot of things, learning the game and potentially preparing for case studies. And so that's what we're going to be talking about here today. If you're preparing for a case study competition. So Spencer, I want you to take me back to those days when you were prepping and just give the audience an overview of what it means to prep for a case study, and then do a quick intro to our guests here.
Yeah, so one of the most valuable experiences that real estate students have are to compete in real estate case competitions, right? Whether at the undergraduate level or at the graduate level, there are a whole host of case competitions that I've found very valuable. And so Monty and Justin, University of Texas, they've joined us. They recently competed in a case competition. Michael and I both have competed in several case competitions. And we thought, hey, let's talk about how to prepare, how to succeed. For our listeners, who might have an interest in a case competition, maybe they're preparing right now. Or if you're just a general real estate professional and you're curious about how case competitions work, we'll go through that today. So maybe Monty, we'll start with you. First, introduce yourself, and then why don't you help the audience understand what is the general frame for a real estate case competition?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. So I'm Monty McClendon. I'm a sophomore at the University of Texas at Austin. Been interested in real estate for a good little while now. Thanks to no small part to a.cre. Thank y'all for that. I competed in my second case competition this February at the Undergraduate real estate case competition in Austin. So just kind of the framework of how it worked is maybe about 2 weeks before the competition, we received we signed up with our team and we received an email that contained a bunch of information about a potential investment in single family rentals and an operating company, a property management company. So basically we had about a week or 2 weeks, Justin, feel free to correct me, where we were allowed to work on the case and try to come up with an investment thesis to present to a panel of judges based on this investment opportunity. So ultimately we put together that deal, presented our findings to the judges, and they liked what they saw, and we won.
Excellent. So Justin, introduce yourself and then add some color to Monty's comment. In particular, what was the most challenging element of that case competition that you guys won?
Of course. My name is Justin Dew. I'm a senior here at UT Austin, studying general finance and business honors. I think the most challenging aspect from my point of view was, so we had all of our analysis and kind of research for the case. And the hardest part for me was, or I guess all of us, was trying to put it in a coherent way where it made sense and flowed through the presentation, just because I feel like presentation is such an important aspect of case comps in general. As far as the day-to-day, I think probably the first couple of days or maybe even the first week, we all kind of analyzed the case on our own. And then it was at that point we all came together, hashed out all of our ideas, try to get a consensus on our vision. And then from there, it was just kind of grinding out the presentation, streamlining it, and working on our presenting skills so that when we presented the judges, it was coherent and made sense.
Got it. So walk us through a little bit how, first off, about how many schools are involved? Is there more than one team from one school? How did you guys get selected, or was it a sign-up process to get it in? How is that typically working?
So this one specifically was mostly just limited to students from the University of Texas. There are other more national ones that happen all the time, and those ones are a little bit more in depth in their selection process. But for this one, since it was just at UT, we kind of knew the people who were putting it on, so it was much easier for us to throw our hat in the ring. Um, yeah, Justin, do you have anything to add to that?
No, he pretty much covered it. There were 5 to 6 teams. It was a little more straightforward than other case comps. We just had to present once. There was no like semifinal and final. So we just present once, and then the judges kind of gave their judgment at the end of it. And yeah.
Got it. So what types of information are you guys receiving? So you guys start, it's that 2-week mark. All of a sudden you get inundated with all this information. And you were alluding to, Justin, all the difficulty of organizing this wave of information. What is it that comes at you? What is all the stuff that is presented to you just in day one?
Right. So usually kind of in the beginning of the case you receive, there's some sort of overview of the opportunity telling you kind of the asset class, the geography, any numbers that are particularly important, what type of deal they're looking for. So this one was a little bit more complicated than previous case competitions I did, because you were kind of analyzing 2 investments in one into a property management company, and then one into a portfolio of single family rentals. So like other than that, it'll give you kind of more like stuff that you need to know about the deal itself. But beyond that, learning about the market, kind of, about what's going on in those different geographies, and understanding your firms, the firm that you're representing, and understanding their goals and what they want. That's kind of up to you. So you kind of have to bridge what's said in the case, in the investment overview, and like the deal specifically, with the context that you find by researching the market and just kind of conducting your market research in general. So, and then you have to then find a way to present that to the judges in a way that makes sense. And then you can build on that with your financial analysis. That's kind of how it worked for us. Right, Justin?
No, that's exactly that. And then I know an important thing for me when I was looking through it was always reading it in the mindset or the framework of, you are this particular company with this particular goal, because otherwise your mind can go everywhere, right? So reading it saying, oh, we are this fund and we want to invest in single family rentals, really helped us frame it for the judges of why this was a good investment opportunity, and explaining our reasoning behind everything.
Well, I think that's what makes case competitions so valuable, is that they're real to life. For the audience, and I'll be interested to hear, Monty and Justin, if you've explored competing in other case competitions. But these are now ubiquitous across real estate education. I did ULI Hines, which is a combination of a finance and a design competition. And so on our team, we had half design professionals, half, call it financial investment sort of professionals. I say professionals, we were students at the time. I did the National Challenge, which is also a UT Austin sponsored case competition, national, but at the graduate level. But numerous other universities, I know Northwestern puts on a competition, Cornell puts on an undergraduate competition, University of Wisconsin puts on a competition. I think most universities now are putting on competitions. They'll either invite universities from around the country to come in and compete, or they may compete. I know that I think it's UC Berkeley and Stanford have a competition where they compete against one another. They're incredibly valuable. So first off, if you're listening and you have the opportunity to do a case competition, highly recommend it. What about preparation? So there's one thing is that you get the case and you start going. I can speak to this and happy to, but I'd be curious, maybe first to you, Justin, what preparation did you and your team do prior to the case competition to ensure that you would be able to compete and win?
I'd say what was really helpful, there was kind of call it an info session, or just kind of expectations of, from the real estate center, laying out what they wanted to see just in general for case comps, because a lot of the participants were underclassmen like Monty, and even freshmen. So that was helpful just to be on the same page, and being on the same page of the team. But as far as maybe research or hard preparation in terms of looking at the real estate market analysis, things like that. To be frank, we didn't really do too much. We were just all kind of waiting for that case summary to drop, and then from there we hit the ground running. Monty, I don't know if you have anything different from that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess as far as preparation before the case competition, it's just kind of your standard advice. If you're an undergraduate student interested in real estate, you need to be reading real estate literature. You need to be reading the news about real estate. So just kind of understanding what's going on in the market in kind of the different submarkets, geographic submarkets around the country, and then understanding, what was going on with interest rates ended up being really, really important in the case competition. So before we knew what was going to be in the case competition, we all tried to go in with a solid understanding of what was going on most generally just through reading, whether it be through CoStar or Green Street or just the other news.
Let me echo that, how important that is. So understanding the latest trends in real estate, understanding the general sentiment in the real estate industry. I was a judge in a case competition, 6 months back. And the team that won, the main differentiator, because from a judge's perspective, you might get different ideas, and some ideas are more compelling than others. But what really differentiates one team from the next is the team that clearly gets it. And you get it through, just as Monty described, understanding the industry. And so it's reading Globe Street, it's reading CoStar, it's reading BizNow, it's reading Green Street, it's following the Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg and understanding what's happening in the more macro financial markets and how that impacts real estate. So that when you go into that case competition, and the judges start peppering you with questions, right? Because that's the process. You present, and then there's a series of questions where, and these judges generally are well-respected people in the industry that are transacting on a day-to-day basis, and they're going to start asking you questions, and it's very clear if you actually know what you're talking about or not. Monty, what would you add to that?
Yeah, you hit it around the head. You need to be reading, because the bullets are going to fly when they start asking questions. So you can't flinch. That kind of leads me into my biggest piece of advice for people participating in real estate case competitions, actually. And you have to think of it kind of, it's a little bit of a show, you have to give off the impression that you know what you're talking about, and you need to find a way to differentiate yourself through differentiate yourself from the other teams who are participating in the case competition. And the easiest way to do that is to speak with confidence and know what you're talking about. So, and that all starts with reading Green Street. It all starts with doing the real estate accelerator through a.cre. And so that's just kind of the general advice that I'd give.
So Sam, of the five of us on the call, I think Sam is most equipped to speak to the performance element, right? So a case competition, you ultimately get in front of judges, and to Monty's point, you are making a case for your idea. Now there has to be substance behind that. So I'm not, but you are very much marketing yourself. Advice, Sam, that you'd give someone, they get up on stage or they get in front of judges and they're a little nervous and they spent now weeks preparing, or in some case days, it's depending on the case. What's some advice to help people as they're doing that presentations part of this?
What a curveball. That's kind of an interesting question. And it's funny because as you were talking about this, and we're talking about being educated, so all the preparation, so that stuff, put that aside. But when you're in front of anybody, and you want them to look at you and think, that's exactly solving all my problems, right? It's addressing the nature of the problem. It's creating a solution. The best thing you can do, it's basically a framework, problem, discovery, solution, right? Mm-hmm. And most people jump to solution. They spend a little bit of time on, we've been asked to, assess the needs of this and that and the other. And then they just go to, here's what we're putting together, or whatever the case may be. The more you demonstrate that you deconstructed the problem, the more you will infer that you have the solution, right? And so really, and again, I don't compete in these competitions, but I imagine that there's certain, dynamics within the market that they're presenting to you. And I imagine that most of the competitors in that space just kind of gloss over them, right? And since, Monty, since you do all the research and you're taking the courses, it equips you to see a dynamic, right? To see a problem. And the more you can deconstruct the problem, the more the people that you're communicating with think, okay, because this person understands that problem so much, they've got a solution. Okay, so by the time you get to your solution, it'll make sense. Now, the discovery part, that's the interesting part of presenting an idea. Okay, because discovery is, okay, well, you understand my problem. You demonstrated that by deconstructing it. How did you discover how to solve it? So that's where story comes in, right? Mm-hmm. You can say, listen, there's headlines coming across the news. Everybody's talking about what Jerome Powell is going to do. And, Wall Street thinks that this is what's going to happen with interest rates. With our research and with this particular property type, this investment vehicle, we've concluded based on this, that this is the appropriate course of action. So basically, you embody the ideas of your end product, the thing that you're going to deliver in a story, right? Because then that gives that believability, that credibility, that borrowed credibility in some cases to your idea. So by the time you get to your solution, you have so much momentum and credibility and context to your presentation that all of the parts that you don't explain become inferred.
That's a really good point. One of the differences between a young real estate professional and a seasoned real estate professional is understanding the big picture. And so too often young professionals, they don't see the forest for the trees. Every investment has a story around it. And there are various parts but ultimately there's a story that weaves all those pieces together. And too often, young real estate professionals give the what rather than the why, or the how rather than the why. And the why to me is the big story. That's the forest. The what and the how are the trees. And to Sam's point, if you jump to the solution and you don't demonstrate that you actually understand the problem and how you discovered a solution to that problem, you can't make a compelling case. And as a judge, they may agree with the solution, but they may not believe that the team actually understands why that solution came about. Michael?
Yeah, and so the presentation needs to be structured and calm. You're presenting the problem in clear, succinct, in a patient manner, right? Then you present the solution. Then you provide the proof and the why to that solution. And the presentation, if you're prepared with all of that, and Sam, you said something to me a while. I actually wrote it down. It's on my whiteboard here. It's problem, promise, proof, proposition, which I'm sure you heard from somewhere, and we talked about that. But you go through that in a succinct order, and you deliver that message clearly. You're walking people along on that story, and so that's the thing. There's that, and then there's the background to the process, and then there's the actual delivery, right? Which is talking slower also. I'm talking about just like the semantics of actually presenting. The slower you talk, the more control you have. And as long as you have that clear message and the preparation behind it, it's going to deliver very strongly, especially when you're in front of an audience. Preparation, take a deep breath, know your heartbeat's going faster, and just talk slower.
That's right. So we just have a couple minutes left, and I want to get to this last question. And this is both for Monty and Justin. To the skeptical students out there who say, I've got too much going on between job search and classes and whatever else it may be, why should they commit time to a real estate case competition? Start with you, Monty, and then we'll give Justin the last one.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So I would say to the skeptic, you really need to approach a case competition with the learner's mind. You need to understand that you're a student, and real estate isn't just learned by reading a book. You got to learn by doing. And real estate case competitions provide a low stakes environment to make mistakes and learn by doing, exactly like I said. So, if you're kind of an underclassman, you don't really know how to model, it's a great opportunity for you to learn how to improve as a speaker, improve as a storyteller, or learn how to professionally format slides, or learn how to do really, really in-depth market research. If you're kind of an upperclassman, or if you're just an underachieving underclassman and you'd like to learn a little bit more about financial modeling, this is a great opportunity to do a deep dive and really kind of figure that out. So yeah, they do take a lot of time, but really just the opportunity to learn is really what sells the opportunity. And also, I'll let Justin talk about this, but sometimes there's money involved, so that's another nice thing.
Wait, before
Yes.
before we move on, Justin, real quick, I want to just emphasize what Monty said. This is a low stakes environment to make mistakes. I love that you said that, because I remember being a student and feeling like the case competitions were this huge pressure. Like, I'm getting in front of industry professionals and this is it. This is do or die. But it is not like that. It is a learning environment. And I really love that you said that. It is a low pressure environment to make mistakes in front of professionals and learn from them. And there's no fear in that. So thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Monty. One of the reasons why the accelerator is case-based, 17 cases in a row, is because, to Michael's point, to your point, it's a low stress, zero risk environment where you can take chances and practice, because eventually you'll be working with real money, and then the stakes actually matter. Let me give one other idea, and then Justin, the last word. Why do a case competition? The job search is an exercise in touches, right? So the more interactions you can have with a prospective firm, the higher the probability that you make it through multiple rounds of interviews. In my situation, I interacted with individuals who were at the firms I eventually got my internship with, and then my full-time job coming out of business school. And in both cases, the case competition came up during interviews. And in one case, my full-time, a recommendation came back from one of the judges to the hiring manager based on my performance in the case competition. And so, not to put pressure actually to Michael's point, but on the flip side, it is like real opportunities to demonstrate your understanding. If you're prepared, real opportunity to ultimately get a job. All right, Justin, last word. Why do case competitions?
I think you guys really covered all of the key points. So I think I'll just echo again Monty's point of really it's all about learning. And yes, you learn. UT's been great education for real estate, business, finance, all of that. But case comps are such a good way of bridging between what you learn in class and then what you'll eventually end up doing in your internship, full-time, all that sorts of stuff. Because it is really kind of like drinking from a fire hydrant, right? This learning curve is so steep, but you learn so much at the end of it. And it was a great experience. And then also, you do get to work on more professional presenting, which may be different from your other classes, which will help you definitely for sure in full-time internships, all that sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Well, congrats again, guys. It's pretty cool to see you win. I hope you continue to do case competition. Sam, I'll let you wrap it up for us.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for involving me in the podcast. I was sitting here thinking, I've never done one of these, but you're absolutely right. There's some things that you can do to really get your point across and your ideas. And I'll finish with one quote. I think it's from Confucius. I hope I don't butcher it, but it is really timely. And I think just to piggyback off of what Monty said, it's, I hear, I forget. I see, I remember. I do, I understand. Right? And so no matter what you're doing, joining a competition, trying to get a job, the more boots on the ground, the more effort you put in, the more you're going to know, the better you're going to be. And in these guys' case, you might even win a competition. So thanks for listening to the podcast, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Adventures in CRE audio series. For show notes and additional resources, head over to www.adventuresincre.com/audio series.